The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi. The lake, it is said.
I'm a boarding officer as well. It's part of my, yeah, it's part of my job. So when you guys see the Coast Guard come out there and you're like, oh crap, what if we get boarded? It's typically going to be myself or somebody with the same title as me. Going out there, and all we're out there to do is just check your safety equipment, make sure you guys are in compliance with all applicable federal laws. But we're not there to be bad guys. We're not there to like send you guys home unless something's like crazy bad, and we're really worried about your safety. But outside of that, we're just out there to inform people and make sure you guys have all the right stuff out there.
So I got a couple things, topics that talking to Dave Livingston, he asked me talk about a couple topics, and then at the end, any questions you got for me or these guys, we'll try and answer them the best we can. If not, we'll get you the information. Real quick, a couple things. Dave was talking about PLBs or EPIRB. PLB, you know what it stands for, right? Personal Locating Beacon. And then the EPIRBs, or the Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacon. Now, you might see some of the older ones, an EPIRB or a PLB, they might call it the same thing. Okay? Yeah. So the newer ones, if the newer EPIRB is more geared towards staying with the boat. It might be mounted on a bracket that if the boat goes down, it can deploy. Okay. The other one, now that you're going to see the newer title is the PLB, and that's the Personal Locating Beacon. So here's an example. This is one that I happen to get issued because I'm a coxswain in the auxiliary. So this is one that I've got issued, and this one here has a little antenna that pops up. These have to be checked or should be checked monthly, and they run probably about $200 or more. These, you do have to go to the NOAA website and register these, and you get a specific number, you get contact information in there, so that if you do deploy it, it does go off, there's phone numbers. You can put your number on there, you can put somebody that cares, maybe a wife, girlfriend, hopefully they care.
I don't know about that if it's my wife.
Okay, well, some of them. Yeah, go ahead.
Any kind of monthly fee or anything, or you just buy it and you're done?
You buy it, you're done. You can, there are some out there, I think they're called Spot or something, they're kind of orange. Some of those do have a monthly fee, but these, you buy this, that's it. You buy it.
What brand is that?
This one here happens to be ACR. There's McMurdo, which is kind of more of a yellow. They all have to meet the same requirements. It just depends on how much you want to spend and how big you want it to be in your pocket. And like I said, this one here is relatively small. So that's real quick on the EPIRBs. Yep.
Now, Doug, that links to a satellite, right?
Yep. The way these go is if you do deploy this, you hit the button, or you open this up, and it has a button you can hit to send the signal. So what it is the signal goes up to the satellite, and then it goes back down to NOAA, which is what, Virginia? Yeah. And they pull up the information based on the data that was sent back, and they pull up your information, and they will start contacting people on that list. The list also has maybe your boat information, color, length of the boat, brings up your lat and long. So if it does go off, the lat and long are sent. If it comes up here in Rondequoit Bay, it's going to come down to the Coast Guard station to these guys, and they're going to commence a SAR, search and rescue, to try and locate you and your EPIRB.
Great.
Okay.
And not a bad thing to think about, guys, especially the tournaments that we're fishing now, like going out of Chameau. You guys are going to run way out in a lake, anywhere. Probably the guy that drowned down in Florida. I don't know if he'd have had one of those. They might have found him in time. You never know.
I mean, these are small enough. I carry them in my. This happens to be a SAR vest, so I happen to carry it right in my pocket. I have to, but they're not that heavy. They're not any heavier than a cell phone, and they're something good to have.
It's a manual deploy though, right?
Yes.
Those are, yes.
These
the
are.
ones, some of the ones that you mount on your boat,
Okay. if you flip your boat and they go upside down, then they'll go off.
Right, those are the EPIRB ones. Those are automatic or manual. You got to look at what you're getting. But these are manual.
And where are those available?
You can get these from any kind of sporting goods store.
So you get them from West Marine and all that?
Absolutely.
Yep, West Marine, Defender online,
Okay.
You can even
Field-
get them at Bass Pro.
Bass Pro,
Cabela's.
Field and Stream, right?
Yep.
So they're
They still work after they're submersed?
Yep.
Yes.
they're made to go to a certain depth. If you look at the specs on it, it'll tell you what they're good to do. So basically, if you're floating in the water, you got this. If you notice, I got a lanyard on it. Why? Well, I don't want to get separated from it. If it's in the water, it's going to go off while you're in the water. Okay?
Oh, it goes off automatically if you're in the water?
No, this is not automatic. This is manual. So once you're in, you're going to have to pull the antenna off, hit the button. It'll send the signal.
Is it rechargeable or is it kind of a
The
battery?
battery is a brand to this one, and this one here is supposed to be good for about 5 years. But they do suggest that they want you to check them on a monthly basis. There is a routine. You look in the manual, and it tells you how to check them, when to check them, and it'll tell you if the battery's still good or bad. Okay?
On the locator, many of us fished 1,000 islands. Conceivably, we'd be in Canadian water. You're
Doesn't
nodding
matter.
your head yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So what it does, it triangulizes, and they say that it'll locate within 0.3 miles in 15 to 20 minutes.
All right,
So that'll give us such a narrow search box that we'll find
will
it
you go
fast.
into Canadian waters, or will it be Canadian?
For search and rescue,
Yes.
we will.
Yes, we can. And then as well, Canadian waters, they'll get it as well. They'll send their Coast Guard, so it'll be a joint operation. And then the best practice with this is keep it as high as possible. Like if you guys can, tether it off to your head. If you guys have multiple people with it, ensure that only one person's setting it off, because you really don't want 5 signals cluttering the system, coming back to the same area, and at the same time you'll be saving battery life. This thing's used for like pretty emergent and dire circumstances, so if you do have it, the probability of detection goes way up versus if, say your spouse is like, well, Roger was supposed to be home 3 hours ago, he always comes home punctually, and he's not home. Then we have a huge SAR box, and that's probability of detection's gonna be way down.
How long do they leak for? How
Like-
many hours, days, or
Depending on the brand, but like you said, this one will last about 200 hours.
200?
Yes, sir. No.
Nope.
They can. What they can do is they can ping off of it, so they can find out just like a cell phone ping. They can ping off of it, but it won't be exactly like remotely operated. Like your wife can't log on to a computer and say, "Ding, ding, ding." Yeah. Not. Yeah.
We can't hack into them and set them off.
Yeah.
Well, so since it goes off a satellite, it really doesn't have much to do with that. It just triangulizes and then it finds where the signal's coming from.
Well, we have Coast Guard Auxiliary down on the Finger Lakes, and they also have Sheriff Marine units down there, so they'd be most likely the ones. We're only really allowed to work on federal waters, but that's not to say if that we got a true EPIRB hit and we worked in conjunction with state police that we couldn't go down there if need be. What's that?
They pick it up then too?
Yes. Or we could pass the information, say this is the lat and long, here you guys go. They can coordinate efforts. Very good.
Because they, the law enforcement, interacts quite a bit. I mean, like on Canandaigua, like your question, Canandaigua, if it went off on Canandaigua, they would probably get the response here, and they would contact the Marine Patrol in Canandaigua to say, here's the lat and long, here's what we've got, here's the description of the vessel, here's some contact information, and pass it along to them and allow them to do it.
I don't know.
I can get back to you on that one.
What was the question?
If you can
Register more than one vessel.
Which
It's typically like tied to personnel, so
right.
yeah.
It gives you comments. I believe mine is registered to me on my boat, but I also have in there that one of my jet skis, because I am coxswain on my boat and my PWC, so I have the description, I believe, of both of them in there.
I would think that, like, say you were gonna ride with somebody, you're gonna go out in the lake, or
Yep.
and it seems if it goes off, they would pick up the beep and they would be able to triangulate. It shouldn't have to be the same boat. I mean, you could,
you know, I would think it would go off, so they would be able to track it no matter what.
It doesn't, it's not tied to the boat.
Right.
The only thing that they have is when you register, if you're registering and you have a boat, they're just asking that you at least put the description in there. So if it does go off, they can say, this person registered a boat of this description with it. At least it gives them something else, you know, to go by.
Another thing with those is a lot of times people do their monthly tests and hold the button too long or do the button wrong and they'll set it off. So now we're triangulizing to Lyle Avenue and Rochester Avenue.
You're on
you
land,
know?
yeah.
But if you don't have any information in there, well now we can't contact you to say, hey, go check your P perp, you set it off.
Goes in that order.
Right.
You know?
When you get those, I believe the application is really enough CC license.
There's no license. No, it's you don't get a license for it. It's right through NOAA.
Really?
It's a beacon register. Yeah, there's no license associated with it. When you register with NOAA, they take the ID number off of this and they put it into their database. So it's not like a VHF radio where you're trying to get a license and that. And there's no fee for the registration. Any other questions on that stuff?
So I just was going to add real quick, they're real useful, but also if you guys have radios on your boat, you see that red button DSC. So that's another good locating device for us that you'd have to manually deploy, but it will behoove you that if you have a radio and you have DSC on it, that you use your manual and you put all the information you can in there, your phone number, you know, your address, what kind of boat it is, because it's less sophisticated than the satellite triangulation is, and it just gives us more information so we can come out there and look for you guys.
Yeah. So each radio, if they do have the DSC, it'll have an MMSI number on it, and so you just go to mmsi.com or .gov, fill in your information for your boat, because obviously that radio is going to stay on that boat unless you take it off and then you just change it on there. And so it'll be tied to that boat, and it should have the lat and long. It should feed off your GPS, have the lat and long. You hit that button, sends it directly to the Coast Guard station. We have this thing called Rescue 21. We monitor it, and it'll do what's called LOPs, lines of position. So it'll triangulate it off of a radio signal as opposed to a satellite signal. So it's really, really, really quick, and we get it, and it's pretty darn accurate. We've had a few cases like that where we've had launch for DSC and found them relatively quick.
So, going, since we're talking, you know, the safety idea. How many guys, have you guys seen these? You guys know what these are? Anybody know what it is?
Can't hardly see it.
Well, here, how's that? Statue of Liberty?
It's a beacon, right? It's almost like a beacon. I got a couple of them. No, it ain't a built, don't build.
Okay, what this is something from Wings and Blast that they came out a couple years ago, and it flashes SOS. Okay, it's Coast Guard approved, and this takes the place of the 3 flares on your boat. This has C batteries in it. So as a boarding officer, he's going to check and say, if you have one of these, no flares, does it work?
What's it cost?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
So they'll check and see if it works. Are the batteries not expired? You know batteries got expiration dates, right?
Yeah.
And then it functions, okay? That's what they're going to do as a boarding. Now, right now, so if you buy one of these, this is the way it comes in right now. This, and then it's got the flag, you know, the orange flag that you have. These are going right now anywhere. The going price right now is about $99. A set of flares is good for 3 years, and it's around $30 to $40. Okay. This one here, I happened to buy on a Black Friday sale, and I got it for $50. It was a half price. You can keep the flares. The problem now, everybody's asking, what do you do with old flares? No. You don't. We didn't hear that.
Yeah, just
Not
now I'm on duty.
On the road. If you got flares, you got to talk to local law enforcement or the fire department, see if they'll take them. Some of them won't take them because they're still considered hazardous waste.
You can use them for extras, I mean, because they got the, you know, the 12 gauge with, and it says, you know, keep, and you don't have to have them because the size of the boat. But, you know, I bought the kit a long time ago, and just said, you know, keep the old ones, I mean, for extra, you might have to shoot off
You
6,
might,
7
right,
flares, you know?
but people do ask, they said, you know, I got like 10 or 12 old flares, what do I do with handheld flares? So, you know, for those that have kids or something like that, or, you know, just have never used them or uncomfortable, this is an alternative, okay? I think this is 2C batteries, okay? And I happen to buy them, like I said, I bought one last year for my one boat, and I bought one this fall for my other boat, so I can get it to that. Yes, this little collar, actually, you can put it right in the water, it floats, this can float, it's also got some little lanyards if you can put them on, tie them onto something. So yes, they are submersible, and they will float. And I don't remember the hours on these, but if you go on their website and kind of look it up, right here it says uses 3 C-cells batteries, visible up to 10 miles, floats, waterproof, safe for environment, but even on here it says must be installed in the U.S. Coast Guard. Yep. And it says flashes SOS signal for up to 60 hours. Okay?
And what's it officially on that package?
This one here, they call it an electronic flare. If you put in Sirius, S-I-R-I-U-S, Sirius signal flare or strobe light or Weems and Blath, they'll come up. Right now, they're the only ones I know on the market that have it, but you can go to Defender. I don't know about, you know, Field and Stream, I would assume West Marine has it, but if you're interested in them, look online a little bit around, and you might be able to find some good deals on them.
So they go across the country in any waters?
U.S. Coast Guard approved.
You'd have to verify with the state waters what they approve, but yeah, this would meet the characteristics required for the Coast Guard.
They'll use on inland.
Yeah. And there are several different companies. Like if you look, Mustang Survival, Life Saving Systems, Sirius, Wings and Plath, they all have these lights. And if you just look for that Coast Guard approval number, you guys should be good to go.
Yeah, make sure what you're getting.
Doug, same thing in Canada? That's good in Canada too?
This is U.S. Coast Guard approved. I don't know about Canada.
So Canada should abide by Coast Guard, like U.S. waters, so where you guys are federally documented or registered at, they should abide by that rules. They have a whole different set, so what they go off instead of Coast Guard approval is Solus A or Solus B. But I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. They should abide by what we go by.
So we're legal in the United States, we have a Canadian license, we go to Canada.
If your boat's registered out of the U.S., it's kind of like your car. If you got a Florida licensed car and you got the tent, it can mess you up.
Right.
So they should abide by that, and then it's a whole ordeal if they don't.
My understanding is that they will abide by New York State rules and that stuff if you're in Canadian waters. After 30 days, I believe it is, according to them, then you got to abide by their rules. But if you're going to be in there a week fishing, your gear and your boat's registered in New York State, so they're not going to say, well, for a week you got to have, you know, Canadian Coast Guard related stuff. Okay.
$86 on Amazon.
Okay, there you go.
There you have it.
There you go. But like I said, they're anywhere from I've seen them $99 what they were going for, and they're whatever you can find them.
He's got a finder's fee now.
Ray didn't look that up. I want a little clarification here. Because there's no way Ray looked that up.
Ray Schreiber.
Oh, Ray Schreiber looked it up. Okay, because I know Ray Kelly didn't.
So a couple other things I was asked about is I know that probably a number of you guys have the inflatable life jackets. Okay, so with that, if he's going to do a boarding on your boat and you have inflatable life jackets, let's say there's two of you fishing on the boat and you have two inflatables and no other life jackets on board, and they're sitting on the seat, they are not considered a life jacket. You've got to be wearing them to be considered a life jacket. Okay. Now, some of the cylinders, like the little CO2 type cylinders on them, do have expiration dates. So what do we suggest on the inflatables? Check them before the season starts. You can manually inflate them. You know, check them, make sure that they're not leaking. You know, fold them back up. Check the arming, make sure that if it's got a little green button or whatever it is, that it's still in the green, it's not in the red. Check for expiration. Okay? Now, under 18 cannot wear inflatable.
That would be a state law. There's
State,
nothing for the Coast Guard.
I'm pretty sure I'd have to look it up in the state, but it's under, I believe it's under 18. They are not approved. They're not approved for under 18. 18 years old. Okay? Yeah, sorry. So they're adult, for adults. Life jackets, okay? A couple people were asking me about different life jackets. I've got some information here. I'll kind of leave with it on the different buoyancies between whether it's a type 1, a type 2, a type 3 life jacket. They're different buoyancies. And they're, you know, and the ratings on the inside. So how do you know if we're going to do a boarding? If I'm doing a vessel safety check, is the auxiliary, a VSC. You know, those are the ones that we're free, that we come around, we'll give them to you free to make sure you got the minimum requirements. So if I'm checking your life jackets, what am I looking for? Making sure that the stitching's good, it's not all worn out, it's not falling apart. And on the inside, what's it going to say? It's either going to have this sewn in or the printed on that says U.S. Coast Guard approved. If that's also worn off, it's not a life jacket. It's just a thing that might float.
Also,
Okay.
they have speed ratings. So if you're out there in a 20-foot Comanche with a 250 XS on the back and your life jacket is for 20 miles an hour, that's not going to fly.
Why? What's the rating for? Well, the rating is that the life jackets now, most of them are rated, I believe, for 50 miles an hour. I
Right.
think. So
That's the standard. But if you're in a boat that goes about 10, it would probably behoove you to get a better life jacket.
yeah. So what it is, it might say 50 miles an hour. That doesn't mean that it's going to protect you, but it means if you hit the water at 45 miles an hour up to 50 miles an hour, it's not going to come apart. Okay, that's what the rating is. It's not saying that it's going to save you and you're not going to get hurt at 50 miles an hour, okay?
So what rating you got for about 50 miles an hour?
There are some type 1s
Okay.
that are bigger and bulkier, and there's some of them that are rated for up to 100 miles an hour, and I think even above that.
Right. You see a lot of the sporting vests that people use for like jet skiing and stuff. They'll be rated higher.
Some of them are rated for.
Okay, so question, you were saying if you got inflatable PFD and they come on and they're on the seats, they are considered life jackets. So what is that? So that if you had normal PFD ones and they were sitting on the seats, they're considered life jackets then?
It's a touchy situation. So typically with inflatable PFDs, there's a thing called a hydrostatic release. So what it is, it's like a salt tablet. So if it gets wet, CLT is able to bypass it and inflates automatically. So that should jive.
Okay.
But if it's not, and it's only manual release, and they have the beads and that's it, then that won't fly. Because if you do fall off your boat, you're like, oh, it's just sitting there.
What's it going to do for you, right?
Yeah.
Does that help?
So if it's an automatic, it's okay. Or if it's an automatic manual, it's okay if it's on the seat. It's like this one right here. It's auto manual. Got the fill.
Yeah.
So it's got the American flag. It's got American flag, so if any of you guys are patriots, you want to buy one.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Automatic golden boarding right there.
That one, that's coming from the active duty. Now, if we're doing the vessel safety check as the auxiliary, we're going to tell you that if you're not wearing it, it's not going to. I mean, it's not 100% with what they're saying.
Yeah.
But if we try and do it, if it's this or if it's that, people get confused.
Okay, so just be the devil's advocate. If I got two of them that are sitting there that are inflatables, but I have two more in the back that are normals, I'm covered?
Yeah.
Yep,
Absolutely.
you got the other ones. Last thing real quick, I know you guys were talking about life jackets. This one here is something that we have. You guys, some of these are called float coats. So this one here is actually what's that?
I said I love them.
Yeah, it's a life jacket.
Yep. And they're warm.
And they're warm. So they're great for in the spring or in the fall. And this one here, you can see it's got the information on here. It says Coast Guard approved, and the information on here. This will be on any of the life jackets here. Here's the thing: don't go to like Toronto Boat Show and see life jackets. You see one of these or something, it's a great deal. You buy it. It's not going to be legal here because that's Canadian Coast Guard. That's not U.S. Coast Guard approved. Okay. So this is something I don't know the prices on these. The last time I looked, they were about $300. But if you're in the spring or in the fall, you're not wearing an inflatable with a sweater and all that stuff. You've just got this on. These things are actually sometimes almost too warm. Okay. That's that last question I got is, anybody in here got kayaks?
Yep.
Yeah, have you guys seen these? Have you seen these? Okay. These are if found stickers. These are for anybody that's kayaking and that. And what these are is we ask that you put them in the kayaks on the inside with a laundry marker, put your name, information, because if we find something, not only a boat, but let's say a kayak, these guys find a kayak out there floating, they've got to assume that somebody fell out of it. So now they've got to commence search and rescue and SAR for that person. If it has the information, at least they can contact somebody. And not only that,
Please.
and not only that, if it gets away from the, let's say you're on the beach, the wind comes up or something and it gets blown off, you probably want that kayak back or something, right? So if you know anybody that's got kayaks or anything that wants some of these, they can get a hold of us, or you can get a hold of New York State, and New York State will issue some of these. Okay? That's all I have on that. I mean, I'll leave some of these here. These are the federal books, and if you open up the federal regs in the middle, it'll tell you what you've got to have for the size of boat. You know, what the minimum requirements are for safety items. Any other questions on this stuff, or any other questions in general? I haven't heard of anything this year.
No, not since 2015. Oh, actually, fire extinguishers. They're all staying the same. It's just a different class. So like as before, you had like a B1 or a B2. They're changing that. Now it's going to like class A or B or C. So.
If you got a KIDDA, you know, the KIDDE fire extinguishers, there is a recall on some of those. So
What do you do to get a recall?
you're going to have to go to their website, look, and they have the serial number. You're going to have to look at the serial number, match it up to what you have. I've heard that people have called KIDDA and they said gave them the serial number and that, and KIDDA sent them new ones.
I did get one that I never used that.
Doesn't make it. It could be one from 20 years ago. If it's in that number range, it's still.
The plastic handles don't work when you squeeze them.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Throwables. You gotta have a throwable.
How big is your boat?
20 foot plus.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's gotta be out.
16 and above. Yeah, it has to be immediately accessible, so it can't be in like a cuddy cabin or locked up under one of your stowage
We don't
bin.
have cuddy cabins.
Yeah. Sorry.
She's thinking wrong boat. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So if it's in one of your compartments, it's got to be like, it's a float seat. So I mean, if you sit on it, you'll be golden.
Just underneath the lid, right?
That's not allowed. It's got to be out on deck within pretty much arm's reach is what they want. Most boarding officers don't get that crazy with it, but it does have to be out on deck.
I did a vessel safety check in somebody's boat, and the guy had one. It was down in the bilge. He pulled it out. He dropped it on the sidewalk. I swear it was going to break the sidewalk. It was going to match the hull of the boat. He says, "Well, that's good." I said, "No, it's not." The suggestion on the throwables. If you have a throwable and the other person is a non-voter and he goes overboard and you throw it, how do you get it back if you miss? So I recommend is you take like a yellow, like the ski lines with a carabiner, put it on the handle and just rope there, because if you throw it, if you miss, you can pull it back. If you do get it to the person, you can pull the person back over to the boat. Say you're the boat operator and the other person doesn't know much about operating your boat, at least he can throw it to you and bring you to the boat instead of trying to bring.
How much line are you supposed to have on it?
You're not required to have any line on it. It's not a requirement. It's just a best practice kind of thing.
It's just a best practice. Okay? It's just a suggestion. It doesn't have to be on there.
Speaking of that throwable, if you got one of those blow up sex dolls next to you.
That's extra.
Yeah.
On the above 50 mile an hour PFD.
Yes, sir.
And most of us don't have that. What happens if you check the boat and you've got ones that are good up to 50? The boat isn't doing 50, but you guys know it.
There's no law enforcement action necessary at that point.
Okay.
Right.
At least you got life jackets.
Yeah. Because and a reasonable and prudent person wouldn't just go out there and be like, yeah, this boat can do 50. That's not rated for it. There you go off the water. That's just.
Guys that do. I mean, you're right.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody might.
But you could argue that super easily.
Guys, any other questions?
Yes, one fast one again, and this is serious. Where can we go for the courtesy boat inspection? I mean, is there any specific place we can go? Can I go down to, Somerville and have one of these fine gentlemen?
We can't do courtesy inspections, but we can actually get you in touch with some auxiliarists right across the river.
Yeah.
That can.
Okay.
George.
Yep. George Taylor's one. You can go online, go to the Coast Guard website, or type in, like Google search or do something, say, I want a VSC, Vessel Safety Check, VSC. It'll come up to the website and you can put in your zip code and your information. It'll send it out to anybody that's registered. So, for example, if you're in Webster, my name would probably pop up, my wife's name, a couple other people would get that, call you up and make an appointment to do it. Now, the reason you don't want the active guys to do it, because if they do it and there's something that's not, you don't have all the equipment, they're going to probably write up a ticket. I don't know. I'll let these guys answer.
It'd be like a warning violation or termination. And the reason we're not allowed to do courtesy inspections is because we do give you that good to go, and something is wrong, and then all of a sudden, say somebody fell overboard and there were no life jackets on board, that would instantly come down to us and we'd be right in jail. So we don't want that. Exactly.
No, we want to have the water.
But we can. I've talked to Dave. He knows how to get a hold of me. If you guys got questions, if you want to set up something somewhere that we can do a number of boats, that's fine. I don't have a problem doing that. It's good. It at least gets you, let you know that you've got the minimum requirements on the boat.
You guys see the sticker that the auxiliary gives you that you've been inspecting for years? They usually give you guys move on, or you still do it, or it depends on the day, really. Typically, we'll still go on there, just do a real quick inspection. We know everything's good to go, but we're just verifying that you guys don't have two boats and you guys are just shifting everything over, and then we'll call it a day, give it to you, and then once you have that sheet from us active duty guys, you typically won't get aborted again for another year. That's not to say that you can't, but it's just typically they're good for up to a year.
You're saying you won't get bored, so if you show the Coast Guard to get pulled over or whatever, you show them that and you won't board?
Most likely.
That's not written.
It's not written.
If they want to do a boarding, they can still do a boarding.
But most boarding officers will look at it and be like, all right, cool, you guys are good for the year.
So, any other questions on this stuff, any of the safety stuff? We've heard, and I think Dave said you guys already heard that this summer the water might be about what it was last year or possibly worse.
I've heard worse.
So that's what I've heard that from some of our active people. I know Dave said he had heard it from somewhere. But I think it's going to depend on, again, what we get for rain between now and the first part of May. So other than that, anything else you guys got any questions on? If you got questions on the safety stuff or anything, put the questions to Dave. He'll email it to me. I'll get a question back, or if you guys want me to come back in and talk about something else, I will gladly do it. It just like Steve said, trying to make sure you guys are safe, doing the stuff, safe, and again, what's the big thing out there? Use common sense. So with that, thanks guys. Thank you. Have a good summer.
Gives up her dead when the skies of November turn gloomy. With a load of iron ore, 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed empty. That good ship and true was a bone to be chewed when the gales of November